Welcome into a new Buff Stampede film room presented to you by the Blake Street Tavern. Another one that I'm kind of excited about, William, here is our breakdown of Jonathan Van Diest. 6'1", 235-pound linebacker recruit. He was one of Colorado's first two commits this cycle, and really the first with a nickname. Colorado fans really picked up on the Van Beast nickname pretty quick. He did have other early offers from Nebraska, Utah, Washington State, and CSU, and would undoubtedly have picked up more offers had he not committed. He committed all the way back in February. William, Jonathan Van Diest is somebody, if you saw in street clothes, you could maybe picture him as a football player.
Right.
But his strength for his size and just what he does when he puts the pads on is pretty incredible. I don't know if you would necessarily guess that just by seeing him.
Well, you can't, because we've talked to him and met him, and he's a very nice young man. And then you watch his film and you think, man, this guy ought to be in jail. He's the Van Beast nickname is really appropriate for what he does on the field. And Cherry Creek used him all over the field last year. And in fact, the very first play that you see on the reel, he's sort of flexed out in space, covering a slot, and then he comes up and slams into a guy and causes the fumble. And that's just sort of the what I would call the tempo of his game. Is he just wreaks havoc out there. He's an Energizer bunny. He never quits. And no matter what position they put him in, whether he's hand down as a defensive end or an inside linebacker or an outside linebacker, he's just out there, and he's just one of those guys that makes plays and wreaks havoc on defense.
Colorado right now projects him most likely to play inside linebacker. He's shown in high school, obviously, the ability to, like you said, wreak havoc as a pass rusher. Could you see him maybe hitting a growth spurt late and being a rusher, or do you kind of like him to fit into that inside linebacker role?
I think he could play. I think he could be a pass rusher at our level at the size he is right now. I mean, he's 6'1", 235, so he's to some extent somewhat short, but he's not necessarily undersized. But he's quite a gifted pass rusher. We talked about Fave earlier, and I think I got the name. Did I get the name wrong? Favia. Well, I'll never get that right. What are they going to call him, Larry? But you look at Van Diest, and he's similar. So there's a play on there. I think I don't even remember where it was, but he does a really nice swim move on his first play, and then the next play comes up and he does a really nice dip and rip move. So he's got really nice pass rushing skills. He's very quick. At this level, the offensive tackles can't touch him. There is one play at 244 where he's going against Jake Moretti from Pomona and does a really nice job kind of reacting to what happens with the play and makes a play outside to kind of stop it short. So I think he could play almost anything. What he reminds me of is Greg Biekert from back in the day, who ironically was a nose guard in high school and went on to be an All-American inside linebacker. And I got to tell you, I was watching Van Beest film and I'm thinking, this guy's going to be an All-America someday, because the other guy that he really brought to mind for me recently was Riley Bulla, who was an All-American inside linebacker for Michigan State.
All right. And he really endeared himself to Colorado fans, being an early commit, and not just being excited about his commitment, but getting other guys on board. He told me at a recent preseason scrimmage that his number one objective is to try to get a guy like Greg Rogers on board. Right. So what he and Dante Sparaco and Tyler Lytle now and those other guys that have committed have really created this camaraderie within this class, which is, I don't know if it's as important as the facilities, but it's got to be up there in terms of why a lot of these kids are picking Colorado.
Well, I think it helps. I think great players want to play with other great players, and I think the players want to be with other players that are going to make them look good, but also that they enjoy being with, because you're going to be with these guys for 4 or 5 years. You're going to work hard with them, and so you want to be with guys, first of all, who love the game, secondly, who like you and are going to make you feel welcome. And I think the Van Diest have if I remember correctly, have hosted people to stay at their home, and so they've really gone out of their way to buy into the whole help and recruit the team, and you just have to love the enthusiasm of Jonathan Van Diest. And then you go back and you watch his film and you see a guy with fantastic closing speed who comes in like a missile, can play any position, just about, I want to say almost any position on the front seven. Obviously he's not big enough to play one of those 3 interior positions, but he's a guy that you bring in here and you can use him in so many different ways, and a guy like Jim Levitt's got to love having a kid like that come in.
Yeah, and now that we're almost done filming our segments, the rain stops and the sun comes out, so that's great timing there. But it's great too when there isn't a lot of talent in this state, and I think we both agree with that. But when you can get a guy like Van Diest in your background, and we can go out there and see them in person, it's just kind of a feel-good story. Even when they get up on campus and they see that Colorado by their name, you wish there were more cases of guys in state that have the talent and want to go to CU.
Well, and that's where you see him in a play against Jake Moretti, who's going to go play at Ohio State, and you think, well, this kid, it's not that he's some afterthought that we got to take him because he's not good enough. He's every bit as good as those other guys, and I love the enthusiasm, and guys like he and Dante Sparacco are going to bring back that enthusiasm, I think, for kids staying in the state of Colorado. And Jonathan Van Diest, to me, is a guy who's just going to be a difference maker on the field. I feel like any place you put him at one of those 4 linebacker spots, he's going to make plays for you, whether you drop him back into pass coverage or send him after the passer or put him in there for run defense, because he's just a guy that it's almost like it's built into his DNA that he has to make the play, and you got to have those guys.
All right, that was our breakdown of Jonathan Van Diest. I hope you enjoyed it.